Yeah, the back-to-back is, you have a week to prepare for one opponent, and you just have a few sessions to prepare for the second. Really impressed with what we've seen of Oregon State. Congratulations to Wayne and his staff and his kids for making it to the Elite Eight. That's special. Wayne's been a good coach for a long time. I remember his work at University of Montana. Tremendous coach. Love his team. He's got an alpha dog in Thompson. He's got, sorry about that, somebody. Silly.
That's okay, Coach. Everybody's used to these by now.
Okay. All right. I thought I'd turn it off. That was my college coach calling me, Joe Gallagher. But Ethan Thompson, they're long up front. They're athletic. Silva's a problem with his size, screener, passer, tipper, keeps balls alive. Put together really good. If you go back before the 3 games in the Pac-12, all the way to the 3 games here, you could see this building for them. But now they have confidence. We get so hung up on the seed and assume that, if you're here, you're good. I mean, you're really good. Loyola Chicago didn't become a bad team because they lost to Oregon State. That's the same team that beat Illinois. So we know how good Oregon State is. They beat Loyola, and I love Loyola's team. So we're gonna have to play good. They're a lot more like us, in that they get on the boards with athleticism and they play physical. Should be a very good ball game. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open things up to questions. We'll begin with Brian Smith of the Houston Chronicle. Just a reminder, please state your name and media outlet before you begin your question for the benefit of those watching at home.
Hey, Kelvin, Brian Smith, Houston Chronicle.
Hi, Brian.
A few days ago, you mentioned that taking this job, you were looking for a program that you could rebuild, and you mentioned you wanted to do it with your family. And last night you mentioned how integral Kellen was, and scouting and prepping for Syracuse. Lauren obviously plays a huge job in pulling so many other things together. What's it like for you as a coach, but also as a father and as a husband, to be able to have your family really be a part of what you've been able to accomplish with this team at UH?
Yeah. I enjoyed the question. I don't enjoy all questions. I enjoyed that question. I enjoyed listening to you say it, and I enjoyed hearing it. It sounds good. We never know how long we're going to last in this business. I think one of the things that helped me, two things really helped me decide about coaching college basketball this time around was my father passing away, who in a lot of ways was my best friend, someone I leaned on for forever. And then Kellen getting fired as an assistant coach at Appalachian State. And then Lauren having trouble finding traction in something she was passionate about. And I think all of us as parents, we're not happy unless our children are happy. We want to contribute to our children's success, but at the same time, we have to let them run their race. We can't run their race for them. But I knew how good Kellen was. That sounds superficial a little bit because I'm the dad and nobody really knows what's underneath the covers, but I do. I knew how good Lauren was. At one point, Lauren was the director of sports marketing at the College of Charleston. She was in charge of promotions and marketing for an entire athletic department. Not a lot of people knew that. She was good at that. Now you think about it, I have someone that has experience in promotions and marketing of an entire athletic department working for my basketball program. It's one of the reasons why I hold people in marketing to a high standard at Houston. Just don't say anything to us. You better come with some solid information and facts. If not, you're going to get checked up. And then Kellen, it's just a matter of time before he becomes a head coach. So I'm very appreciative of being able to do this. I remember when Mac and I were finalizing this thing to come here. I knew that I didn't quite know what the nepotism law was in the state of Texas. I knew that Pat worked for Coach Knight and Lubbock, and we saw where there's some other instances, but I wasn't sure how our university's take on it. But Mac was tremendous. He said, "No problem. This is what we'll do. Point A, point B, point C." I told him I couldn't bring Lauren in right now, but I wanted to bring her in the next year or so because she was finishing up her job that she was doing. And then we just hit the ground running. There was nothing that we saw was not fixable. Apathy is fixable. Facilities are fixable. Those are fixable. It's the other things that we knew we had work to do in. But it's been fun. I know I come across sometimes as not having fun, but please believe me when I say that this is the best job I've ever had. And every job I've had has been a great job. Every job. Montana Tech was a great job. But I've enjoyed this one because I enjoy watching Kellen grow. I enjoy watching Lauren's joy, how they've embraced and just jumped into this program and put their signature, their mark in their area. When we have staff meetings, I usually have the staff give me a report from their area. Where are we going? Why? What's our why? Why are we doing this? How do we get better? Think outside the box. We're always challenging each other in those things. One day for our players, I think it was Martin Luther King Day, I asked Leroy Burrell if he'd come over and share some stories about growing up as a young Black man in the 70s and some of the things that he had to go through. So we're always trying to challenge each other, but just from a head coach perspective, but also from a father perspective. I'm so lucky. I am. I'm so lucky that I get to do what I do at a place that I love and with my family. You just doesn't get any better than that.
We'll take our next question from Jason Bristol, KHOU Television. Jason,
Hi,
you can
Kellen.
unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, Kellen. Jason Bristol from KHOU in Houston. This may be a little less enjoyable of a question. I know that Oregon State can play multiple defenses. Does their zone, how would you compare their zone to the one that Syracuse plays?
Their zone is different, but good. All zones are good. I've never seen a bad zone. They're all different, because they try to take something different away. Some people, when I think of the term zone, you think in a literal sense, it's just an area. Oregon State, they match up out of it. Everything's a matchup. So every time the ball moves, there's somebody on the ball man-to-man. Syracuse isn't like that. They force you to pass over length. The passes that you have to make against them on the interior are passes you have to practice and prepare for. Syracuse's zone is more athletic because they have more athletic players, especially out front. So I think the matchup and athleticism, how hard they play it, is different, but it's a good zone. Tulsa had a good zone. Central Florida had a good zone. Tulane, their zone was good. So I've always seen good zones. There's no such thing as a bad one.
Thank you.
Myron Metcalf is up next.
Hey, Kelvin, this has obviously been a chaotic season, but are there elements of this season that you think we should keep in the coming years, whether it's the way the schedules have been handled, a single-site NCAA tournament? What, if anything, about this tournament do you think should stay in college basketball?
Oh, that's a great question, Myron. First thing out of my mouth would be the the sweats and the polo. I think we should keep that. You know, coaches are built to adjust, and they're also built to compartmentalize, and that's what this season's been about. And I want to take this moment right now to tell all the medical personnel, especially the athletic trainers at all these men's and women's basketball programs across America. I just want to say thank you to them. John Houston is our trainer, and his professionalism and the way he makes sure that our kids are taken care of, make sure that their testing is done right, and the consistency of it in this year. I can't tell you how lucky we are and how appreciative I am about John, and shout out to all the trainers across America. I think I don't think we should keep it at one central site though, Myron, because I don't think that's fair to the fans. You know, college basketball is not it's for the players and the fans. You know, taking this tournament to Minnesota, to Phoenix, to Seattle, to Miami, to New York, Raleigh, Louisville, Dallas, New Orleans, you know, places that college basketball is, that not everybody has the money to travel, but you know, there's kind of something romantic about applying for NCAA tickets and then finding out you got it, and then planning your year. I got 4 tickets. I'm going to take my wife and my 2 kids. We get to go to the NCAA tournament. I think there's something really, really exciting about that. I hope we get back to. So I like, you know, Selection Sunday is a big deal for all players and coaches. But I think going out to the different locales and the different regions of the country and taking college basketball, you get a chance. Let's say you send Stanford to the East Coast, and there's so many Stanford alumni that get to go support their team. I think there's a lot to like about that. And I hope we go back to that. I think the COVID era has taught us that we need to take care of ourselves more so we can take care of others. And I hope there's certain things that are here to stay. Whether it's the COVID testing, obviously not every day, but I think we need to continue to test each other. If you're going to be around other people, you know, I never heard of the word super spreader, but we are super spreaders. And we have to keep on top of that so something doesn't get bigger than it should be. You know, washing our hands and social distancing as much as possible. That can only help. That can only help society going forward. And we're a small, insignificant part of society in a lot of ways. But the more we can do things to promote health and welfare, I think the better the country is.
Let's take a question next from Mark Berman. I believe this is Mark Berman from Fox 26 in Houston.
Hey, Kelvin, Mark from Fox Houston. When you're talking about looking at the scouting report for Oregon State, what are some thoughts about Warif Alatishe and what he does?
Love him. I think he's a big part of why they've taken off. He's a live wire. He could play on any of my teams any day. Tremendous rebounder, live, just got a lot of pop to him. He's part of our success against them has to start with keeping him off the offensive boards. Tremendous offensive rebounder. Pick and pop driver versus a pick and pop shooter. They have a kid that we played against, the Kalu kid when he was at Oklahoma State a couple years ago. We played them in Stillwater. He was on that team. And now he's coming off the bench here. He's a pick and pop shooter, but Alatishe he's just a talented young man, can drive it, score on the block, mid-range, can pass it. And they're big. You know, Silva's 7 foot, 7'1". Alatishe's 6'9", 6'10". Kalu's 6'7", 6'8". Thompson 6'4", 6'5". I mean, they've got a big, strong, athletic team, but none more athletic than him.
One final question for Coach Sampson before Coach can take off. Patrick Waring.
Hey, Coach, Patrick Waring from the NBS Sports Hour. You touched on the family part for you being at Houston. With this being such a different year, as been mentioned, do you feel like your team has grown closer because of everything they've had to go through? And do you think that's a direct reflection of the success?
Yes, I do. And I think for us, it's just, I think there was a lot of fear. We came back to school in June, and then we got shut down and we had to go home again. Then we came back, we got shut down, and everybody had to go home again. And I felt so bad for our freshmen. But I was reaching out to our seniors, like Justin Gorham and Fabian White, Bryson Gresham, Dejan Giroux. Those kids, reach out to these freshmen, man. They don't get to do what you guys did as freshmen, or they're in their first year. And then we had the pause in December, and then we've had a lot of things that bring us closer. Adversity will do that. We had at one point all 15 of our kids have tested positive this year at some point from the summer until the winter. But 1 week especially, we had 8 or 9 test positive, and that was a tough week where they were isolated. You had to move them out of their dorm room and isolate them in another dorm where nobody could be around them. And shout out to our athletic department for having that organized and being so professional about it. Our athletic department was tremendous, our medical people. But what we did do was a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of FaceTime calls. We would just take some kind of defensive or offensive action. We'd put it on the Zoom, and we would just break it down. We'd have the guards on one night. We'd have the big guys on one night. We'd have the freshmen on one night. And we would talk about, okay, when we get back, here's some areas that we need to get better at. So we're always working with them. And then we'd meet as a staff and say, okay, you call Jamal. You call Tremont. So we made sure we got voice time with them, FaceTime with them, and that helped. And then we had the bad weather storm power outage where we didn't have any electricity or water for a few days, and wound up probably not very smart traveling to play a game during that time. I think that brought us together. And you know what else? It's been this bubble here. We left home on a bus on March the 11th. Today is what? 28th. So we've been gone since March the 11th. We bussed from Houston to Fort Worth, stayed in Fort Worth Thursday night, played Friday, Saturday, Sunday, flew from Fort Worth to Indianapolis Sunday night, which would have been what, the 14th. So we got here about midnight, 1 in the morning, had COVID test before we went to bed that night, the 14th. And we've been here from the 14th to the 28th. And played 3 games, had a bunch of practices. We've got our own floor. We call it our RV floor. Everybody just kind of parked their RV, and that's our RV campground. Everybody comes out of their rooms at feeding time. We all congregate by the elevators or the microwave or refrigerator, late night snacks. Guys are popping popcorn, ordering a pizza. Guys walk out with their little sleeping beanies on, and they're sleeping. I mean, it's like everybody's staying the weekend over at Uncle Joe's house, and but that's brought us closer together. That's so the bubbles. There's easier things to do, but I appreciate it because it keeps us together, and that's a good thing. If I were a mom or a dad, and I think like this a lot, I would want my son somewhere where he's being taken care of, that he's comfortable, that somebody cares about him. And these kids with this staff and the brotherhood they have with this team is part of, I think, why we are successful, because we have great kids that care for each other.